All right, let's pause for a second though. What are some reputable websites that you can use for research? I've provided some examples here of websites that are generally decent to use. So, .gov websites are government websites that are coming from organizations such as the U.S. Census Bureau, the USDA, the FBI, and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. They're great to use for government reports. When I was in graduate school, for instance, I relied heavily on the U.S. Census Bureau to get statistics about communities, specifically rural communities, so that I could get a sense of a population to provide background in my papers. .org websites are generally okay to use. They're typically used for nonprofit organization websites, but be aware that anybody can purchase a .org domain. So those need to be vetted more carefully. So Wikipedia, for example, is a .org website. But if you know the organization well, for example, like Amnesty International, UNICEF, the American Red Cross, or the Pew Research Center, these websites are generally fine to use. Lastly, there are some reference websites out there that you can feel free to use for your research projects. Google Arts and Culture is a great website to use for research about art or cultural history, and it provides context as well as museum exhibit showcases from around the world. Encyclopedia Britannica, of course, I mentioned a little bit ago, but after a couple of searches, it will ask for you to pay to access more, so I would recommend relying more on Credo while you're here at KCC. PubMed is a medical literature database powered by the National Library of Medicine that's full of open access journal articles about medicine or health related topics. Museums as well are generally another good place to look at for extra information about topics you might be researching. And again, if you ever need help with reputable websites, you're always more than welcome to email me or call me and come visit me in the library in person to come have a chat and I can help you determine a good website versus a bad one. So why shouldn't you use Wikipedia as a scholarly source? Well, while it has a strict editing and moderating system, the fact still stands that Wikipedia is able to be edited by anybody. Even Wikipedia knows what it's about. This is a screenshot that I grabbed from a Wikipedia article titled Wikipedia is not a reliable source. It goes into a bit of depth regarding this, but the highlighted portion of this states the following. However, because Wikipedia is a volunteer-run project, it cannot constantly monitor every contribution. There are many errors that remain unnoticed for hours, days, weeks, months, or even years. See this Wikipedia article called A List of Hoaxes on Wikipedia. Additionally, it is possible that some errors may never be fixed. That said, it is still a decent launching off point to get a casual understanding of a subject you might be interested in researching, but it's still not meant to be used as a scholarly source, unfortunately. Similarly, Google AI answers should be utilized with caution, as AI answers aren't vetted by humans. AI will oftentimes pull sources, but not really understand the context of what actually is being said in the sources. Again, this is not a bad jumping off point, but it cannot be used as a scholarly research source. As an example, I decided to Google the best rock to eat. Now, this doesn't work anymore as real humans begin to make sure that the AI algorithm is becoming more refined. But at the time, this is what Google AI had to say about what the best rock to eat was. So, geologists at UC Berkeley have recommended that Americans eat at least one small rock per day as a part of a balanced diet. They say that rocks are a good source of vitamins and minerals that are important for our digestive health. To get around the taste and texture, they suggest hiding rocks in foods like ice cream or peanut butter. And I don't know about any of you, but I never knew that I had to eat a rock as a part of a balanced diet. It seems a little weird, right? So when I clicked on the link to the source that's right here, so you can see this little symbol here, I clicked on that to see what the source said. It brings you to this article here by The Onion. The Onion, as a lot of you probably know, is a well-known satire site. Here, the article is claiming exactly what AI said, that geologists at UC Berkeley do encourage people to eat at least one small rock per day. And I beg all of you to, first of all, not eat rocks, but second of all, always double check whatever AI is pulling for you. Again, it's not a bad place to jump off from, but it's really important to be skeptical of the sources that it's pulling. So, after you gather your good scholarly sources and find your information, it is time to start using this information. You'll start here by engaging with your information. This means that you will take the information that you gathered and you will read it, listen to it, view it, and learn from the information that you have put together to put into your research project. After that, You will extract the relevant information from the information that you've gathered. You'll ask yourself, what is useful for my assignment out of this source? You'll begin picking out the relevant and useful information from each article you retrieve or each book you find, but there's oftentimes a lot to sift through. Like, I've personally been looking at journal articles before that are upwards of 30 pages long, and that can be really overwhelming. I usually tell people to start picking out any definitions or statistics, claims, or discussions of results from the articles. It helps also if you start out by reading the abstract of the paper, and if that seems on the right track for your project, then move on to reading the introduction, where they'll explain their study and the background literature behind it. Then move on to the discussion portion, where they'll explain their results and link it back to the literature of the introduction to see if they found anything during their study that will help you. If this seems like a good paper to use after doing those three things, then I'd say take a closer look at it. In general, just don't get overwhelmed by the sheer breadth of information. Once you begin sifting through it, it will seem much less overwhelming. All right, then comes the big stage, the synthesis stage. You will take the information you gathered, engaged with, and sifted through, and you're going to start writing your paper or forming your presentation. You'll start here by organizing your information from multiple sources, asking yourself basically that, how are you going to organize the information in your project? This could look like grouping all of your papers together into like separate color-coded piles and saying one pile is information for one section and another pile is information for another section. This is what I have always done, and it works really well for me. So if it works for you too, that's fantastic. You can also create an outline if that's going to help you complete your project. Now, I'm not the person to ask about outlines. Like, I understand they exist, but I've never been very good at like making them. If you're wanting to make an outline but need help doing so, I definitely recommend visiting the tutoring center to have them help you out with that, as they're all really super knowledgeable and will be able to get you on the right track. After you create your outline, you will decide how you are presenting the information. Typically, your instructors will have a set idea of what they want you to do, either a paper or a presentation. However, there may be some times where you get a choice between a paper or a presentation, but it's up to you in these cases to determine which of these will be the best way to relay the information that you've researched. You'll also, at this point, want to understand how you are citing your sources, which is likely MLA or APA style, but always clarify with your instructor if you're not sure before you get too far down the road of writing your paper or your presentation. Awesome. So after all that, you turn your paper in and you wait for feedback, and then you get your grade and you find yourself in the final step of the Big Six process, evaluation. You'll judge your work and process here. Judging the final product's effectiveness, which is where you'll start, means that you will be asking yourself how you did, as well as taking a look at the grade you've got, and ask yourself whether or not you believe the reader learned something from your paper or presentation. You'll also take a look at your grade and ask yourself whether or not this turned out the way you hoped and why it did or didn't. You'll judge the process that you went through as well, reflecting on whether or not it was difficult for you, as well as what parts of this were easy and which were difficult. If you didn't get the grade that or the results that you expected, take a look at the feedback your instructor gives you and ask yourself why you think that is and how you can change your process and product in the future to do better. You can also ask yourself if you should have changed your sources or your information. Lastly, just know that you're not alone in this process. If you need clarification regarding instructions or assignment parameters, please alert your instructor quickly so they can clear things up for you. And if you need any help with accessing databases or finding information for your paper, you are always welcome to drop into the library and talk to me if I'm there and available, or make an appointment with me so we can go through sources and databases. My contact information is also listed here, so please feel free to call or email me to set an appointment up. You can always talk to the circulation desk in the library as well if I'm not available, and they'll be able to get you on my calendar. Finally, if you're needing extra help with writing or want someone to go over your paper or help you along in the process, please feel free to visit the tutoring center. They're all very knowledgeable and really willing to help students with schoolwork and make sure that you're set up for success. All right, well, that's it for me today, everyone. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I will do my best to help. Thank you for listening today, and good luck on all of your research endeavors here at KCC.